allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our pastor for the prayer is Kim Beer. Yeah, got it.
Will you pray with me? God of Christmas, remind us that the Savior of the world was born in a stable and laid in a feeding trough. Hope was born in a time of governmental strife, chaos, and difficult circumstances back then. And still today, we have that hope available to each of us. Lord, fill our leaders with wisdom in today's meeting. May peace on earth fill our actions and attitudes. Emmanuel, God with us. Amen.
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 Item 4, oral communications from the audience.
Yes.
I'm Dennis Romero, and this is Randolph Cabral. We are from the Kansas Braille Transcription Institute, and he's going to speak here in just a minute, but I'm going to say my part and sit down. On December the 12th, here at Avenue A Park, there's a national monument that's going to be dedicated. It's the Braille Tactical Braille Flag. It's a flag that blind people can read, see, and it describes what it is. And we're going to dedicate that flag. The flag was, I'm going to let Randy tell you how it originated, but we're inviting the whole public to come out. We've got in contact with the VFW and the American Legion and here in Hutchinson, and they're coming out to support us in this. So it's a quick, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, quick dedication in your city of this Braille American flag. And I'll let Randy tell you, he's the inventor of it. So,
well, good morning, and I guess first and foremost, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today to present to each of you. It's a real honor for me. This is a town in which I grew up 67 years ago. As Dennis, my first lieutenant, just said, we came here today to let the city of Hutchinson know that we are dedicating, on behalf of my father and my mother, this monument to the city of Wichita, Hutchinson, Kansas. My father was the inspiration for the flag. He was a blinded World War II veteran. And my mother had approached me one day and said, you know, you've been working with the blind all of these years. Why didn't you give your father a flag that he could still see? Because my father always posted the American flag on the front porch. I looked everywhere and could not find one anywhere in the United States, in the world for that matter. And trying to be a dutiful son, I created one. At the time that I created it in memory of my father, and it sat on a shelf until former Congressman Todd Tiehart used to come out to the office. Former Senator Brownback used to come out to my office, usually at stumping time. And Todd had learned about this flag, and he wanted to know if he could use it in his campaigns. So I said yes, and a couple of months later, he called me late one evening and said, how would you like to get your flag permanently installed in Arlington National Cemetery? And I said, that'd be super. So both Todd and Sam, they wrote up these bills, they presented them, we flew out, we sat and waited while it went through the process, and on Valentine's Day 2008, this flag was nationally recognized as the tactile Braille American flag. In May of the same year, we went back to D.C., we presented on the Senate side of the Capitol building, and the flag was permanently installed at Arlington National Cemetery. So I thought it only befitting that now that these monuments have actually been reproduced and placed in numerous places around the United States. This is where its home actually is. This is where it originated, and this is where it certainly should be. So I asked your mayor, would it be okay if we brought this monument to the city of Hutchinson and dedicated it here? He thought that was a good idea, so that's what brings us here today. And it's a real honor for me, certainly an honor for my family, and I think it is long overdue. It's something that should have probably been here before it even went to Arlington National Cemetery. But at least it's here today, and as Mr. Romero said, we'd like the public to come out and come see this national monument and share with us in its meaning. There are more than 1 million war-blinded American veterans and low-vision veterans in the United States today. What makes this flag particularly unique is, while it has raised stars and it has a raised white stripe that differentiates the red-white stripes, 13 stars, it is color-coded, something that had never been done in the country before. This is one of the first things to ever be color-coded in Braille, and I take a little bit of honor in having created that particular color code for the blind. It allows the blind tactily, upon discriminating the American flag, to be able to tell you which stripes are red and which stripes are white, the 5-pointed white stars. So it's a unique flag. It's the only one anywhere that's ever been created. And again, it is grounded here in Hutchinson, Kansas. This is where it got its inspiration. So again, it's a real honor to be able to dedicate it here. And we welcome the city of Hutchinson to come see it and appreciate it as we do, in recognition of our war-blinded American veterans and all other blind Americans. So again, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
What a story.
It's at, on the 12th, correct?
Yes, the 12th at
2 o'clock
2 p.m.
at Avenue A Park?
Avenue A Park.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
One
Is
thing
there-
about that, I've been working with these guys probably 3 or 4 months on this, so I'm glad to have it here. We finally got it done. Going to get it done, right. Right. Go ahead.
Any other comments from the audience? Item 5, consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Tyra Stakerhollow,
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Bagwell,
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Item 6A, consider resolution for gap waiver for fiscal year 2022.
Angela Richard, Director of Finance. This morning I have 2 annual resolutions for you to consider. The first is in regards to our method for accounting. The statutes of Kansas and the regulations of the Kansas Board of Accountancy provide that we follow generally accepted accounting principles for our method of accounting, otherwise known as GAAP, unless we pass a resolution annually to adopt the Kansas regulatory basis of accounting. I have outlined in the memo some of the key differences between GAAP and KMAG. KMAG outlines the Kansas regulatory basis of accounting. So we must consider whether we follow KMAG or GAAP. It is the opinion of the staff that the expenses to report on GAAP outweigh the benefits and that we should continue to follow KMAG. Do you have any questions?
Well, I would move to approve resolution declaring that the requirements of KSA 75-1120 AA are not relevant to the preparation of financial statements and reports and waiving the requirement of conformity with said act in favor of conformity with the cash basis and budget laws of the state of Kansas, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Iris Carvalho?
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Okay.
Item 6B, consider resolution appropriating funds to pay payrolls and claims for 2022.
As you know, back in September of 2021, we passed the 2022 budget, which outlines in detail what we plan to spend our funds on and what we are authorized to spend. The city also has different purchasing policies, internal controls, and monthly reporting that we provide to you. We also provide the claims that we have paid that month in your consent agenda. The city staff feels that these internal controls, along with the audit, provide a good way to monitor spending and are adequate. Therefore, we recommend that we adopt this resolution, which would allow city staff, overseen by the city manager, to provide our vendors weekly and also pay payroll bi-weekly. So it is our recommendation that we pass this resolution. Do you have any questions?
Okay, I will move to approve the resolution providing for the appropriation by fund of the budget of the City of Hutchinson for the year beginning January 1, 2022, and appropriating money from the various funds to pay payrolls and claims against the City of Hutchinson for the calendar year 2022, and authorize the mayor to sign. Did I say 21 earlier? 22. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Iris Carvalho?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Item 7A, consider lease agreement with the Board of State Fair Managers.
Thank you.
Paul Brown, City Attorney. Just want to kind of preface my comments with many thanks to the Kansas State Fair Board and their Kansas State Fair Manager. They have approved this agreement for a lease for a new fire station to be constructed on the fairgrounds. This is very important to us. It's some years ago we decided that that current station was obsolete and needed to be replaced. Finding a centralized location for the new fire station was very, very important. And if you look around the central area of Hutchinson, there really aren't many open spaces. So can't express enough how important this is to the city of Hutchinson and how grateful we are that the State Fair Board and their manager has assisted us with that. It is a great benefit both for operations and monetarily. So before you is a proposed 99-year lease with the State Board of State Fair Managers for the new fire station, which will be moved up a little bit. If you know where Skates is at, then it's kind of across the street from it at that little entrance to the fair. That area will be remodeled, that ticket booth will be moved, and the new fire station will be at that location. We will be removing the old fire station and restoring it to grass as it was before the fire station was there many years ago. But at this point, it's the lease, and I'll forewarn you, you'll see a little addendum to follow up on this with just a few details about the project itself, about stormwater and the utilities on the old station, that kind of thing. But this is for the lease itself, so that Chief Beer can get started with the plans and get that project underway. It's a whopping cost of $1 per year. So again, we are grateful to the Kansas State Fair and would ask the council to approve the lease.
Paul, I just have one question as you relate to the legal description. If for some reason down the road during this 99-year period that there was a need here to expand the property itself, what would that process be to modify the current lease?
It would be similar. We would negotiate with them. If it was beyond the area that is included in the legal description, there's a statute that deals specifically with this. I mean, that actually gave the State Fair the authority initially for our current fire station at the fairgrounds. It also says if we ever stop using it as a fire station,
They
then
take it over.
it reverts back to the State Fair along with the buildings. On our current fire station, the fair is not interested in that building. That's why it's going to be demolished and removed. But direct to your question, if we need to expand and it goes beyond the current legal description, then we would need to negotiate with the fair to get their permission.
This is basically about what, 2 acres? A little bigger, a
Well,
little
1.5
smaller?
there, you're going to have to come up and answer those specifics.
Acre and a half,
Acre and a
Pretty
half?
close.
according to
Okay,
the information here.
okay, okay.
I
Upon
tried to get him
approval
up here.
of the lease, can you map out the timeline for the community, if you don't
Yeah, here he
mind?
comes.
Stephen Beer, Fire Chief Hutch. The timeline here, we were looking to, with the Architecture's Manning Company, to be done with the plans by mid-November. They are running about a little bit behind. They're about 90% done with the plans and the architect stuff. And so they're looking at probably around mid-January by the time the plans are done. My understanding, the plans are hung up at the state level with some of the drainage and stuff like that that has to be approved at the state level. In all reality, we're probably looking to go out to bid around the 1st of February with the process here. So we're still looking for that timeline, still working with the state fair, working around the fair requirements. I can tell you that your fire department, along with the state fair board, with Brian and some of his staff, along with the architects, we meet monthly together and we keep that transparency between all agencies going. And that's been a big benefit through this whole process. And for the Kansas State Fair to allow us to get to where we are today.
Yeah. Chief, do you have a feel for if what we bonded may be insufficient because of rising costs?
No, I really don't. I'm curious too to see where we are. I really think we're going to be okay. From what I'm hearing here, lumber prices are down, you know, and some of that. I think some of the bigger issues my son is a project manager, and I think some of the steel girders are what's going to hang us up on some of the roof type stuff. The delays, I heard 15 months on that type of steel work. So we'll see when the bid comes out, but I think with some of the stuff coming back down, I think we're going to be okay. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I trust my son. He does this every day and listen to his expertise in the field. But there are some struggles out there with some of the steel work, and we'll see where that goes.
And what does the contract call for as far as number of days of construction time?
We don't have that done yet. As far as when we put out the bid, we'll get that completed here. We're working with a fair. We don't believe, we're looking probably towards the end of 22, maybe the first part of 23.
I see.
Before we're done here, but we want to make sure during the fair that there's no outside construction going on. If we have the building up by then, we want to work with them. We don't want the fair to be or the building to be a distraction during the 10 days of the fair. And so we want to make sure it's all fenced off so people aren't walking in on the construction area.
Yeah.
Just a lot of little logistics that the fair requested we do during construction, and we'll honor that. But if all goes good and weather dependent, if we can get out to bid and get this thing going and get a bunch of bids, I really think by the end of the year, the first quarter of 23, we could be in that station.
And for the
we
record, the
won't-
chief's son is not the project manager.
Yeah.
Yes, for the record,
Project.
he lives in
Just to be clear.
Wisconsin and he's out in California doing
Unpaid
projects.
consultant. And just to clarify, demo of the current facility won't start until after completion.
That
so
is
there will be
correct,
no-
and that's one of the big advantages we have here, because I really don't know, besides moving a couple trailer mobile homes in or something for having a place for the firefighters to go to. It's been a win-win for us to stay in the existing station while the building's going to happen. And so once the firefighters move in, we'll demo that building and restore it back into its original use.
Okay, fantastic.
Any other questions?
Good job.
It's a process. Thank you.
Yeah.
I move to approve the lease agreement between the Board of State Fair Managers of Hutchinson, Kansas, and the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, to provide a location for the construction of a new City of Hutchinson fire station on the Kansas State Fairgrounds, and authorize the mayor to sign. Second?
Iris De Carvalho,
Yes.
Dave Light.
Yes.
Soldner.
Yes.
Bagwell.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Item 7B, consider update on unsafe and dangerous structures at 2100 South Bone Break.
Good morning, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Izzy Rivera. I'm the Director of Building and Neighborhood Services and also the building official. Coming to you once again regarding the demolition for 2100 South Bone Break Street for both the commercial and the residential buildings. And let me see how this works. Okay. I just wanted to briefly go through this. It's not going to take but a minute or two. I just want to refresh your memories as to what the building looked like back in when this case started in 2019. When it first, what it looked like when I first started and came here, brought it to your attention earlier this year, and during my visit last week, so that way you can see the kind of progress that's been done. On the commercial side, okay. This is the picture of what it looked like, the commercial building on the in 2019 when this was first started. There's another picture of that time. And then when I first came in and I presented it to you earlier this year in March, April, this is what it kind of looked like. Not much change, actually no change other than a little more deterioration of the building. This is both the east and northwest corners. And this is the my visit just last week at the site. As you can see, it just continues to deteriorate. And this is the south half building, the one that was been discussed about demolishing.
I think you forgot to.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm looking at both of them here. As you can see, it's deteriorated considerably. And it's just going to continue to do so, but we understand that that's the portion that wants to be demolished. However, if we do it, we have to do the whole thing, versus the owner can find a way of fixing it, which hasn't been done as of yet. That could have been just demolished and the rest of it salvaged. And then for the residential unit, that's what it looked like back in 2019. Pretty bad shape. When I first brought it to your attention, and earlier this year, this is kind of, they've made a little bit of progress there as far as putting some siding on it, but that's about it at that time. This is just going around the building. Very little work has been done. And then during my visit I'm sorry, a little too fast. And this is what it looks like just recently. I'm sorry, I'm missing some pictures here. Oops, thought I had them here. For some reason, the newer pictures didn't show up.
So the December photos aren't on there?
No, I thought it was on here, and I apologize for that. There has been just a little bit more progress done as far as siding, maybe a window or two been installed, but the front door is still open. Doors, some windows are still open.
Would you mind going and getting those and coming back? While we let the other people
I'll have to
speak?
send it over.
Huh?
I'm sorry?
During the time that the other people speak, could you go get those and bring them back?
Let me see something.
'Cause I'm sure you have them at your office, right?
Actually, these are it. For some reason, I just forgot to change. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. I can get that real quick. Is that okay? All right. I'll be right back.
Got any entertainment for us, Mayor?
No, not today, I don't
Sing
think.
some Christmas carols?
No, you don't want me to. We won't have meetings no more. How's everybody's Christmas so far? Good? All right, you're spending plenty of money in Hutch, right? That's okay.
Really bad.
Sure.
My apologies. Let me go with IT really quick. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much for running
No
back
problem.
and getting that.
And I apologize,
really
I thought they weren't
appreciate
here.
it.
This is gonna be ugly.
It doesn't sound terribly encouraging, Todd.
We can do one at a time.
Go ahead and talk. I'm gonna have to run this.
Okay. That's just, once again, the east side of the building. That's the rear portion. A little bit of work was done back there. That's the side of the building. As you can see, some of it has been done as well. That's the other side. I have mine labeled, I'm sorry, I can't remember, it's the east side, if I'm not mistaken. Keep on going. That's the front, the northwest corner. There's a couple of windows behind those sidings that they haven't gotten to yet, so they're covered up. I'm assuming they're gonna open them back up once they continue. That's the front of the building. As you can see, the door is still open. That's always been a concern of mine. Windows, like I said, there's still openings in there, so people can still get in there, and that's my concern. That's what makes it a dangerous condition, it's a dangerous structure as well. Not just the fact that it's looking dilapidated. And that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Thank you.
May bring back the other one up.
No, I don't need the other one. I'm done.
Okay.
When was the roof put on?
Well, the roof was done, if I'm not back in either 2019, 2020, and they got a permit for that. Now, as I mentioned in the last meeting, they did pull a permit to remodel this. However, they have not scheduled any inspections as of date, so the work that they've done hasn't been inspected, so we don't know how they did the work behind it. We could probably work with the property owner regarding that. We met yesterday at the site, kind of told them about it, and they were not aware that they had to call for inspections. I thought I had made that clear when the permits were issued, but I could understand they're, trying to get as much as they can done in a short period of time. But as far as the commercial building, the last time she mentioned that she had made contact with the contractor, a local contractor, TW Roloff, contacted him, and he mentioned that he did sign something for her to do work. I asked him when he can start the demolition, if it was to get approved for the commercial. He says he could get to it by end of this month. But I still recommend the fact that nothing has been done up to this point. My recommendation is still to demolish both buildings. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Izzy, you mentioned you have a concern that it's an unsafe structure, but I'm wondering what the need to do something quickly, because it really is off the beaten path, right? I mean, it's not necessarily like in a residential neighborhood where it's bringing down property values of surrounding owners. I mean, I'm just trying to get a feel for
my concern
why
is
we're so passionate
my
about
concern is
this
that the
one.
property owner still goes in and out of the building. I want to make sure that if they go in, that they're safe. Once again, in the event of an emergency, our first responders going to this building. I received about a month ago a call from the fire department. They would just happen to be driving by and saw this, and they asked me if I had seen this building.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I guess they weren't aware that this was already in front of you for review. So I told them that it was. So even they had concern about it. Once again, I understand that this is low traffic area. However, it's still a safety issue. Still concerns. It still meets our definition of a substandard structure. It is open to. It's still open, considered an attractive nuisance. Regardless if it's low occupancy or low traffic area, the possibility could still be there. And it's by a highway, one of our main thoroughfares. And
The question that comes to mind immediately is the fact that when we had a discussion, I think back in August, I think there was a general consensus is that we would agree to the extension with the understanding that the south half of the commercial building would be demoed, and that there was a contractor who was selected to schedule that, I think, the week after Thanksgiving.
Right.
I guess it would be important for me to understand or to get a status from the property owners as to the schedule for the planned demo of the south half of the commercial building.
that'll be fine. They're here. They could speak on that behalf.
Yeah.
Just
if we
know
could have,
that
if we could have an
office-
update on that, that would be helpful.
That'll be fine. Yeah. Just know that on my end, we haven't received anything to date.
Right.
The last time I spoke to this contractor, he said that he hasn't been contracted at that point yet. This must have happened recently. Once again, I didn't get into the details with him because that's between him and the property owner. I just needed to know if it does go through for some reason, when can he get this done? And he said by end of this month. But like I mentioned to him, this should have been done a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was kind of implied that it would have been done by this time. So,
I have one question
yes, ma'am.
about the residential
Mhm.
property. There has looked to be like there is work in progress on that. What would you recommend? I know you're recommending to demolish it, but if you weren't recommending to demolish it, what are a few things you would like to at least see?
As I mentioned the last time, what I would like to see is the buildings properly secured
Okay.
while they're not working on it.
Okay. So
No
like
open windows, no open doors. As you saw, if you remember the last time, there was the floor that was open, caved in.
Yeah.
And that's at the front door. So we don't want anybody walking in,
Yeah.
especially at nighttime when when someone, especially now that it's gonna be getting cold, try and get in there to warm themselves up.
So having like like a plyboard
If
over
they could
the
secure
door?
it. No, they had a door there, and it was on the side of it, but it wasn't installed. If they would install that, they had it secured for a little bit in the beginning when we first started, and then it just kind of went away. They went back to their habits of not putting it back up. But if they, all I ask is that that building be secured, that way no one goes in. And the one thing that I did mention to them the last time was if they make that building look unattractive from the outside, continue working on the siding. Make it look like a house. I wouldn't have too much of an issue because someone walking by, oh, that's the house, somebody probably lives there, even if it's just somewhat boarded up. I just want to make sure that it's safe for the community.
Yeah.
Izzy, I think you're doing your job, doing what it is you're supposed to do. And let's hear from the other party
That'll
and
be fine.
get some answers to our
Yes.
questions.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Izzy. Okay, come on up.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Some of our progress for the month of November has been because my husband and I have both been in the hospital with COVID. I did bring a letter today showing a release from the doctor. COVID is bad. Do not get it. So having COVID, the first part of November just killed everything for us. We've been working inside the building. The pictures that Izzy showed, I don't know if any of you have drove by there. We've covered the roof, cleaned up the property, and there's no blight or trash. So yes, we've been out there working and cleaning up. When you go by on the highway and look over there, you can see a definite a change in the property. But like Carvello said, it is off the beaten path. But we still want to, as a family, to make improvements. We've been here 120 years, and we want to stay. I want people to look over there and say, that's Bernard's storage, catering, or whatever. The Fair Board has been very gracious to me and very good to let us store our product and use my kitchen up there. But in time, I won't be able to do that. I need the north and south end of my building. I realize there's going to have to be a demo at some point or time. But again, for emphasis, because of COVID, I couldn't do nothing. But I had people go out and do what they could do while I was sick. So, about the house, we're going to continue to make progress. I respect the fact that Izzy doesn't want anyone to get hurt. So I'll make sure that the door is put on. Have they been working out there? Yes. Those pictures that he have does not show all the cleanup and the changes out on the property because they've been made. Now they may not have been made fast enough, but we're making them. There's no way in 2 weeks I can demolish that south end. I know Izzy wants it done right now. But we did talk to the demo gentleman, and he said the first part of February he can take us on. So I do have a letter stating that he can do that, and we can get to that.
Do you have the available funds for the
Yes.
demolition?
And I've talked to Todd Walker to do that.
Let me say something.
To be specific, originally it was scheduled, the demo was scheduled for Thanksgiving week. As she stated, she specifically got the COVID. She has a letter from her doctor stating of her release as of yesterday. I talked to Izzy a week or 10 days ago, and we discussed this, and he seemed all right, and he felt that he understood taking care of health first. We have since rescheduled the demo, as she stated, for the first week. It's actually, I think the letter states, it's a handwritten note by the demolition company stating when he will do it. To be specific, the other thing is there's been a hell of a lot of work. A whole bunch of junk has been taken off that site. And it's amazing that we couldn't find those pictures. But I expect things like that at this point. So it's them against us, and I tried to be specific and explain to you what us is doing. And recapping it, yes, we did not do the demolition as scheduled. In professionalism, I don't like excuses, but she contracted the COVID, and that's what happened. In all due respect to the city and the council, it's a handwritten, but there's a note stating the rescheduled date to cover that, and I don't think we need to say any more.
I did call Izzy when I was sick and told him, I have COVID. Things are going backwards, they're not going forward. I contacted Mr. Garza and told him, I have COVID. So I let people know.
One more thing is, I too think that we should make sure that no one can get into those buildings. So what I give you as my word today is that you give us 2 weeks and we'll close all those. They will have to get up on the roof for the commercial to get in, and break-ins are break-ins, and they'd have to break into the house, and we'll have that secured. And if that's not soon enough, tell us, and we'll do different. But I think that gives us a lot of time. She got released, I think the date, when was the date of your release, the letter?
I have it from yesterday, showing that I'm safe to be out here.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Okay.
I'm not concerned
Now,
about that.
The commercial building is really boarded up, and you can drive by there and look, and it has been. So the only issue that I think that Izzy has is with the house, with the door being open and going in and out of it. But it's been boarded up, and been boarded up for a long time. And when we go and work in the commercial building where they've been working, every evening or every morning, it's boarded up. So,
And locked. I couldn't get in it, but I think the true concern is the residential area right now, in terms of possibly getting in. And as I stated, within 14 days, Izzy won't be able to get in unless he wants to break in, and if that's his concern. And I don't think we need to say anymore. Do you have any questions?
No, I do have something to say. I have been watching you. You know that I call you all the time. I call you once a month and tell you I like what you're doing. You're doing a good job. I seen that you did call me and tell me that you had COVID and things had to stop. So I think you've done a great job. I think you you went out there and did what you had to do. And that building was, oh my gosh, it was terrible. In fact, I went out there this morning, took a look at it, and yesterday I took a look at it. So I think you would have had things done if you didn't got the COVID. And in my aspect, you've done a good job.
thank you.
Okay, you've done a great job what it was. But I do recognize our inspector has to do his job too. But that being said, can you get us a letter saying, not a handwritten note, some kind of letter, official letter saying when he can do this for us?
Yes, and
Okay.
I did call him when I had COVID too.
Well, I hate to do this. I hate to tear anything down. You've done a lot of work. You spend a lot of money. And I think that in my motion, anybody else got any other questions?
Yeah, let's go
Okay.
to the residential. I have a
Okay.
question about that. Who's actually doing the work on the inside? I mean, are you doing electrical, plumbing, or are you just doing framing?
We're not doing any electrical.
Okay,
But installing windows. And the one picture he had, it doesn't show how he's put the siding around the back of the house and everything.
yeah.
But we will, as a family, we will vote on who we will contract doing the electrical or whatever.
Okay, well, my concern is that you need to be sure that you are getting this stuff inspected so that you don't do something.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't go install windows, and I know I couldn't. So that you don't put something in place that an inspector is going to come out and say, I'm sorry, you didn't do this right. You're going to have to tear it out and start all over.
Correct.
So my concern there is that you haven't been dialoguing with the inspection department to make sure that they're approving what you're doing. Because I don't want you to put any more time, effort, and money into something, Susie, and then have us come back and say, no, you got to tear it out.
Absolutely.
So you got to get on that.
So when did your new inspector start?
Oh, months ago. Yeah,
A month ago.
But still, we had discussed this with the previous.
yeah. I mean, please do that.
Yes.
Don't let that slide.
And I will make sure that Izzy's notified.
If you can get us a document of some kind and give it to Izzy, not a handwritten note, you understand what I mean?
Yes,
with
from
that.
that.
A formal contract
Yes.
would be appropriate.
Yes.
What is the
Do you have a form?
what is the difference? Like, why is it so? I guess there's conflicting where Izzy says it can be done right away and you're saying it has to be done in February. Is that because of money constraints or?
No, that's not a conflict.
Or
I think
why
that's-
is-
It's not a conflict. I think that's a misunderstanding. I clearly, no.
Well, first
It's
of all-
handwritten. Let me finish, please. It's a handwritten note, but it's a legal document. Go get that note. You have a city attorney right here. You'll validate that it's a legal document, but it's not proper and it's not professional for this kind of setting, and we will get you a letter. But I asked her to do that
Contract.
and to have something. So.
I just
show-
want to
show
know
it
what
to Paul.
the reasoning.
You ought to be able to tell you if it's.
Well, first of all, I'm getting over COVID.
Yeah.
And for me to try to go out there, it's my building, my property, and in 2 weeks, no, I will not be ready. And I did not agree to that. So where he got his information, I don't know, but I talked to the company. Then I know my health would be good. The building would be prepared. Again, for emphasis, everything stopped. That's why.
I think that those are the two things. We wouldn't be here. By the way, we weren't invited, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the COVID.
Yeah,
In my
I'm just
mind,
trying
we
to-
wouldn't even be here. This
I'm
wouldn't
just
be a
trying to figure out
meeting.
why February.
Because
versus
that's when he said he
January.
had an opening.
That's when he said he had an opening.
He had an opening, and I would be ready, and he would be ready. So he agreed to it.
And make it clear. I don't know where he got his date from. Make it clear. And there's your city attorney. He'll tell you. That's a note. I had to
Well-
bring something. I had to bring something.
I was
And-
just wondering if February was more convenient for you, or if it was. I guess what I'm asking is it a convenience for you, or is it a convenience for the company? That's what I'm
Excuse me,
asking.
just one second. That's what it is. There's nothing else. You're talking about something that isn't, except for Izzy. And he may be telling the truth about what he says. But this letter, this note, this is it. There's nothing else.
Okay, why
You
don't
want it to be
we,
something else.
what can we what do you need? How can we help you? Do you need till the end of February? We want this to be successful.
Yes.
I don't see an urgency for it because of its lack of proximity to other properties. I would normally care a lot more if I felt that it was a greater risk. And I'm not saying there isn't liability on the city, Izzy. You're absolutely right. Totally respect your professional opinion. I just feel like if we are able to help you, I would like to know what you need from us time-wise to do
Since you're
that.
asking about the timeline, the end of February or so, let me get well, let us make more progress and get things in order. Yes, I agree with you, Ms. Carvalho. Yes, end of February. You know, I had it the first, but there's snow, there's rain, there's bad weather, there's poor health. We're just imperfect people that are here trying. So, yes, I want your help.
So can we agree to this? First of all, let's break this into two components, the commercial side of it and then the residential.
Yes.
So let's deal as a group with the commercial building, that it would be your intent with a receipt of a letter from the contractor that the intent is that the south half of the commercial building would be demoed
Yes.
with the concurrence of a building engineer, that it would not jeopardize the safety of the remaining north half of the building. Does that make sense to you?
Well, it makes sense that, but, I don't know why I feel like we've done this before, but
Yeah.
that's why
Well,
we
we
got
have.
the.
But we
yeah.
That's the problem.
But
Yeah,
we're
that's
just-
the
we're just-
problem?
It's a moving target, John.
Yeah.
And so the commercial building, the demo, can we agree on February 15th of 2022 that that work on the demo of the south building would be completed?
Well, what I'd like to agree upon is that formal letter that she will get to you that will be the same as this note. And that says, the contractor says that the week 12th through 19th.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and if it was anybody else who came up with a bid from the contractor, you take it and run. But it's us, and I guess this isn't formal enough, so we're going to give you a formal letter on, if he has letterhead.
I know that when I've gotten work done, normally we sign a contract, I pay half up front, we schedule a date, when it's completed, I pay the other half.
We've been through
So-
that, and the change has been the COVID and the
So
rescheduling.
you already have
and
the half down and the
No,
document?
no, no. We've been through the formal letter and the bid from the contractor. And that was for the week of Thanksgiving.
Well, here, let me
And
finish
since
for a
then,
moment.
since the COVID, since the
I
COVID,
understand that.
are you sure?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
I
Well,
understand that. I'm not trying to go against you, I'm just asking questions.
No, I was just wondering, because
I like to ask questions so we can just get answers.
you can do whatever you want. I'm
Okay.
just asking, are you sure you understand?
So normally you go out, let's say I get 3 bids, right? I want something done. I go and let's say I'm getting like just recently I had to get my main sewer line replaced at my house. And so I went out and I got bids. So I got 3 different bids so I could decide what one was cheaper. And then I found out that actually there wasn't some plotting and I had to end up, it was a big mess. I understand that things change. Trust me, I just went through all this where I had to actually get a different bid from a different contractor because I had to get the pipe had to be laid down without disturbing my neighbor's yard. Because my neighbor's yard wouldn't let me disturb it, right?
So
things come
you
up.
understand.
That's what, yeah, I understand. Like
There's changes.
there's changes that happen. So when I'm asking these questions, I'm not trying to do it
Right.
in the way that I think it's coming off.
Well, way it goes now.
But when I finally decided about, okay, now I need to go with this company because that procedure is cheaper with them. Now that I have the bid, I have the information, I have the company that I'm using, I would pay half down and sign a contract with them. Is there any way you could get that information, not to us, you don't need to come up here and tell us, but update that information with the inspectors. Talk with the inspectors, let them know you have the bid, you have the down payment down, we have the signed contract, and they're supposed to start on this date. We need that information from you given to our inspectors.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to get at. So that they know, all right, it's in motion, it's set at a date, it's been paid, it's been had, it's gonna happen. And then he knows that information. And that's all we really want. I don't need the information, but I need you to share it with the inspector so that he knows what's happening.
One thing, Susie, did you guys you got an engineering thing in the first place, didn't we? Did we not? So we still have that engineering print, am I right?
No. I do.
It's no change in the engineering print, am I right?
No.
In my point of view, you don't need another engineering. You haven't changed the structure of the house. You haven't changed anything else.
No.
The engineering thing's gonna cost you more money, am I right?
Yes,
If
a lot of
if
money.
we have to get you another engineering
Who's
thing?
saying she needs another engineering?
No, ma'am.
I
They
said
have
who
an
is.
engineering print already in the original.
I was
saying who's asking her for another one.
Oh, well.
I would like
I didn't
to
think anybody
suggest
was.
that we delay considering demolition till the end of February. But Susie, this is what I need from you. I want you to reach out if you need help. You have a whole community that will rally behind this project, and you don't need to do it on your own.
And I don't want to, I need help, yes, but I need help with trust.
Well, we're gonna trust you to get this done by the end of February. Well, I don't know. That's what I'm suggesting. But I want you to reach out if you're having trouble, just like Sarah said, reach out to Izzy, reach out to me, reach out to Mayor Garza, but keep us posted, because nobody wants to do this every couple months. You don't want to come in here and spend half your morning and be paraded, and you don't want that. Izzy doesn't want, nobody wants that. Just help us help you.
I will.
I'm fine.
This is the first time I've heard that you want to help us. And that is heartwarming, because I want help, and I want to make this happen, and I want to be a part of the community and represent.
You are a part of this community, and I would ask, you are. And your parents and your history in that business is a viable part of this community. And unfortunately, some people don't understand that. I have one parting question. Can we trust that if we come to you, you will deliver?
That's a two-way street, John. That's a two-way street, John.
No, I understand. I know she asked that she said that she was going to trust us. And I'm saying to you, the distrust can only be that we didn't deliver on that initial date. And I'm sorry that she got the COVID.
Yeah,
we've been through this. And I think we're
and
past
we
that.
appreciate
I was simply
understanding.
I'm asking the question she just made, if you don't mind. I'm asking the same statement she made, I'm making. Is that okay?
Certainly.
All right then. Can we trust?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Do you have any more questions?
Just one other clarification, John, while you're here. You had stated that you would be able and would have the capability of enclosing the residents
Yes, sir.
in 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
And Izzy continually
Yes, sir.
reminds us of his concerns as a building inspector.
Yes, sir. And if I have to, I'll come up here and bring a picture.
Can
If you
we
say so.
can we anticipate that in 2 weeks or not that you will be able to enclose the residents?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to attempt
good
to
enough
make
for me.
a motion, and please correct me if this does not have consensus, but I would like to move that we delay consideration of demolition of the commercial and residential structures at 2100 South Bone Break Street until the end of February, with the understanding that the residential boarding up will take place within 2 weeks, and a contract for that demolition will be presented to the city attorney. Does that sound fair?
Can that happen?
He said, can that happen, Don? He wants to know within 2 weeks that we'll have the house boarded up, and we will report back to Izzy or
Izzy,
whoever,
yes.
and bring pictures.
No,
But Steve, you drive by enough.
I do, yes.
And he can report back, or I'll be glad to call
Okay.
anybody
So the
and let them know
15th
it's
is
boarded up.
Okay.
And just
So
so
the
you know,
15th
but the
or
commercial building,
the
never
1st
any
of March?
pictures were taken. It's boarded
I
up.
don't know if
Yes.
you wanted the minutes just the 1st of March.
Yeah.
1st of March. Okay. Say it again. And I'll second.
Okay, so,
So Jade, that's your motion?
well, yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting.
All right, I'll second that.
Oh,
Okay,
well, I wanted, sorry.
yeah. Yo, go ahead.
Can we amend that to March 1st, which would be the meeting after the end
Okay.
of February?
So,
Before that is seconded, I would like to amend that to the March 1st meeting.
so the motion is to delay consideration of demolition for those structures until the March 1st meeting, with the understanding that the residential structure will be secured, I guess by the 22nd of December. And I'm not sure how you want to handle the contract for demolition, Paul. Would they present that to Izzy or to you, or do you think you could get a contract by
I
in
don't know
2
that the
weeks?
contract makes any difference.
Okay.
Council,
Yeah.
what you're saying is
Okay.
that this needs to be done by the end of February.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't need a contract. They have to take action.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
March the 1st, and we
Yes.
take action, just like he said.
Mhm. Yep. And please keep in touch with us if you're having trouble meeting that deadline, and we'll see what we can do to help.
Thank you.
Second? Or did you want to?
Yeah, you seconded, she made the motion.
Is that clear enough, Linda? Clear as mud. I'm sorry.
So, okay.
I would approve
does it
that second with the amended date of March 1st.
have- Who is my second, Dave Line or Soldner?
Okay.
Dave Line.
Thank you. Jairo De Carvalho,
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes, Susie, I'd like to make something. I hope you felt that we helped you, or if I haven't helped you, then I'm not a very good mayor. I hope that we did what we could for you, all the months that I've been talking to you. So you are a part of this community. Your family is deep in our history, and I know that. I've been here 40-some years. So I hope that you go away from today, the people helped you, and and stay with us. Don't.
I'm not gonna quit.
Okay,
I'm not a
ma'am.
quitter.
Okay.
No, by
All
no
right.
means.
Well, thank you for coming today.
And thank you all for coming. I'm gonna get through this,
Yes, ma'am.
COVID or not.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Oh.
Get
Thank you.
better.
Item 7C, consider bids for 2022 residential street maintenance project.
It'll work. Good morning, Mayor and City Council. Jeff Peterson, Director of Engineering. The residential street project, let's see if we can get this started here. Oh, there it is. For this year was bid on November 9th, and it includes the combination of quite a number of projects this year. And here's some of the locations. One of it is essentially the residential areas that are shown up on the map. Also, Jim Martinez Trail, maintenance of the sports arena parking lot, the Wells Apron at the airport, which is a grant project that we previously removed from a project to rebid it with this project, and then also the Wells parking access, which is part of a larger project for the airport parking lots. So, and it also involves some crack sealing also in the residential areas, as well as a small portion of the arterial project on 30th Avenue and 17th Avenue. I'm going to go through, the low bid was from Circle C Paving and Construction, and we received 3 bids. The low bid was $1,901,594.84. The total bid was about $6,000 over the engineer's estimate for the sum of the projects. I'm going to review each of the different portions of the project and then recommend funding for each specific one. So, with respect to the residential street project, it was under the engineer's estimate, just under, but it is over the budgeted funding we have in the CIP. This year, we did not include supplementing any of the street maintenance projects with available reserves, though we have discussed dwindling reserves, favorable bid results, and street projects' final costs last year allow us to supplement the residential project. So I do recommend that we approve that with supplementing about approximately $250,000 from available street reserves. The second portion of the base bid was crack sealing. That was more affected by increasing costs this year, materials costs. We were hoping for about $200,000 for this portion of the project. It came in at $300,000. What we would hope to do, and what we have talked to the low bidder of reducing the scope of the crack sealing portion. It's bid by pound applied. It's in an area where we've already crack sealed the previous time through, so we're going through the city the second time, so we don't think this will impact what needs to get done in the residential areas. But we want to leave a balance for materials that the city actually were going to buy and do their own crack sealing, so I didn't want to deplete that wholly. So we would recommend reducing the scope of the crack sealing by about $100,000. For the arterial maintenance, it came in under. That's just a small portion of that project, which will be bid at a later date. So we'll keep that with respect to, and we would recommend that going forward. So for the base bid, we would recommend a final cost of $1,399,422.98.
Can you go back to the picture
I
of
can.
what area you're doing?
Uh-huh.
So,
And I didn't include the individual streets because the map got pretty busy.
I noticed that the map, I was confused by that because I was like, we just did some of that area.
No, actually, we haven't. We were actually in the a different area last year. So we were more in the northeast portion of town last year.
Okay, because you stop at Monroe, and we did from Monroe to Maine.
No, actually, we did more of the.
Because I just know by my work, which is right there.
Oh, yeah.
There was a bunch of stuff done,
And that
I was like,
and that was part of the arterial project, not the residential project,
okay.
Sarah. So.
Well,
Yes,
I know that
yes, right by where
behind
you
Dillon's,
work.
Dillon's.
Yep, and that was
and
the mill and
Fifth
overlay,
and-
which was the
and
arterial
Sixth
portion of the
and
project.
Eighth and-
There was no residential areas that were done in that area.
There wasn't with the
Nope, it was just the arterials.
with the
Right.
because right there, Madison was done, and
Actually,
those areas kind of like on 6th Street, but I guess those are partially mixed, so they're
there's some of
kinda-
those that are mixed, but
Okay.
in general, that's the area that we're taking care of this year.
Okay.
This is the second
so
time
that's
over
gonna
that
be
area.
all right. I just wanted to clarify.
No,
that.
that's
So I was like,
fine.
I thought some of that was already done in that little small corner down there.
Yeah,
But it could have just been the drawing, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, could have been. I just everything
Okay.
was meshing together, so I just showed the whole,
Okay,
the whole
all right.
location.
That was my only question. Sorry to bother you.
Oh no, that's fine.
Jeff, can you tell me how much we bring into the reserve fund each year, the street reserve?
Well, it's from a number of sources, and I don't have all those here, but part of it's a quarter-cent sales tax, which we just get a portion of that. That's about $1 million, a little bit over $1 million a year. And it's also from the federal fund exchange. That is approximately $425,000 to $450,000 per year. There's a special street, a number of sources that are from the general fund, which is special street, and I lost it.
Well, I guess my bigger
Angela can
concern
tell
is,
you.
are we depleting that reserve fund
Growth.
significantly?
Right, no,
right
not
now?
significantly. We keep that in case some of the projects go over in those. After last year, we didn't know exactly where we'd end up, but since those projects were completed, we have about $700,000 in reserve, so the $250,000 doesn't impact going forward at this point. We just want you guys to understand that we do try to keep using that. It's just mainly the difference in the actual bid costs and construction costs versus the project costs at the end and what we had estimated for those costs. So.
Hopefully those will settle down next year.
Well, maybe. This one was a little more challenging than some. So we'll go back to this. The alternate number 1 was maintenance to the Jim Martinez Trail. It came in at just over the engineer's estimate. The Parks Department does have adequate reserves to cover this, to continue on the maintenance for the Jim Martinez Trail, so we recommend accepting alternate 1. The sports arena parking lot maintenance came in at $243,000 and change, and it's over the engineer's estimate, but it is under the CIP for the project. We would like to continue on with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, another question.
Jeff, can we
The
take a
sports
minute? I want
arena-
to talk a little bit about the sports arena.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
can I
Just a
hear-
clarification.
Thanks.
Tell me what you mean by, tell me what you mean by cape sealing.
Cape seal?
Yes.
Actually,
Describe that.
it's a chip seal with a slurry seal on top of it that essentially it makes it a little bit smoother. So it's essentially 2 seals on the surface of the parking lot in that area. Of course, there's striping and all that stuff that gets taken care of, but that's typically what it is.
Okay.
We haven't really did one like that. We did. Some of the other people in the engineering department did go look at some different locations. Salina and Wichita use that quite a bit in some different locations, so we think that'll be a good option for that.
What would the life of that be?
Depending on traffic and weather, there's a whole host of things, but we would guess 7 to 12 years,
Okay.
depending on traffic. There is going to be some patching and things like that that will be done in addition that's going to be included later. But, I mean, before that project gets going, and that'll be taken out of that $350,000.
So-
Jeff, I know it's all a part of the budget process
I know.
itself.
Yep.
But during the sports arena renovation, there was a good discussion within the group about the desire to do a complete 2-inch overlay.
And that would be nice. I don't have the cost.
Do you have a cost? Do you have a cost
I
of that?
I don't have with me today. I didn't check on that, but it would be somewhat more than all of that, maybe double. Because
Yeah,
typically
Okay,
the
all right,
Cape,
all right,
Cape
now-
Seal or the others would be. It's
I'm not
about
quite done yet.
5 or 6 times more than the cost of this.
5 or 6 times more
Correct.
to do a 2-inch overlay,
Plus or minus, yes.
plus or minus.
Mhm.
Okay. Being a part of the budget process itself, in the scheme of the sports arena bond issue, we have a portion of that dedicated to replacement reserve. And I guess what I'm asking your thoughts on is whether or not it would be advisable to fix this thing once and for all, to do an appropriate 2-inch overlay versus the seal program. To me, I think that's just a patchwork
It is partly
solution.
a patchwork solution. It's better than just what was done
It is.
when the initial was done. It's more similar to what we do on some of our residential streets, but that would be a function of budget and
I understand
forward. And
that.
I haven't been really a party to the discussions on the sports arena parking lot.
With the.
That's more
I
through.
mean, we've neglected that
I
portion
think
of
it's
a
okay,
$30 million
since I was interrupted.
project. I think most would agree to that. And it just seems to me that is it time to bite the bullet to consider using a portion of the replacement reserve from the sports arena fund. And Angela, you may want to speak to that a little bit, to do this thing the right way once and for all, to give it the life and the usefulness.
And that is a
it
good
deserves.
question. There's maybe some validity to that. I don't know the funding portion of it.
Yes, we're supposed to collect an additional 1.5 million of sales tax and put that to the sports arena reserve. I do know that Justin has scheduled part of that to be used to replace the bleachers. So I don't
Right,
have
that's
those
in the
numbers in
CIP.
front of me, and so I'm not sure if there would be enough left to do a project like this.
I have the same feelings as Dave. I was trying to, I actually was starting to talk to you before I was interrupted. I was going to ask you, would it be cost efficient to put this patch in at this price if really we need to fix it completely with the 2-inch overlay? I would not like to see, because I really think it needs to be done correctly. That parking lot is appalling. I've I've strollered my kids across it, and it's like, there's more crack seal than parking lot. There's so much of this. And so my whole issue is, why are we going to pay to put a Band-Aid on something when we need to invest in a good parking lot for that area? And I think that it needs to be invested in. I do not think that we need to cut corners like we did previously and end up with an appalling parking lot.
And I'm just basing it on what was approved in the CIP budget. We had
Right.
I
350,000,
understand
so we're trying to
I didn't approve
make that
the,
fit. So
the budget. Actually, I voted against the budget. So
we're just trying to make it fit into that. So those
Yeah,
are hard decisions. I understand.
Absolutely. You're working within the confines of what we presented with you. I am in agreement, though, with the other two that maybe we should take this out of this agenda item and consider it later. Can you remind me, are we on the hook 100% for parking lot maintenance in the sports arena contract, or does this college pick up some of that?
I don't think so.
I believe we are, but I'm not really sure of that.
Well, the college's participation was, I
$5 million.
thought it was, of the 29 million, I thought it was $5 million.
It was $5 million.
That was committed by the community college as their participation level as a partner in the sports arena project. I believe that's a correct number, 5 million. I could stand corrected.
Would it be futile to have a conversation about some level of cost sharing if we were to completely
That all
redo
would
it?
be appropriate.
Let me dig into the
Hope springs
pro forma
eternal.
of the agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll know better where we stand, and I agree, we could pull this off the overall approval and get moving with the other stuff, and then have a bigger conversation about this. Yeah, that would not be hard to do. By the time we get through talking about other projects, we may have a different temperance for the overall funding piece, but yeah, I understand. I understand the conversation.
Did you want to go over the
Yep, I can keep
wells?
going. I just
Yeah,
know if you
the
guys
wells.
I didn't know if you guys were all done. So
I just don't want to stick another Band-Aid on something that needs to be fixed, especially when we're investing so much with the atrium to try to get all of this
no,
tourism coming, and it's like, let's.
I was just trying
come
to
on,
be in the
Hutchinson,
confines
let's
of what
do it
funding was
right.
available for this next year.
So,
For the alternate number 3, the Wells, or the airport at the Wells apron, that one was originally a grant project that was approved in May, and we reduced the scope of that project to get the major repairs, the concrete portion of the repairs done at that time. The remaining funding from the airport is approximately $78,500. Our engineer's estimate was quite a bit higher than the actual bid, but we were basing that more on the bids we had back in May. So there was some good news, though it was still higher than what they have for the actual project cost. On that one, we would like to reduce the scope of that one to fit within the confines of what's available for the grant funding. I think we'll still get some good benefits out of that. Peters continues to look for funding and grants that maybe can help the airport out going forward. So I don't think this would be a bad one to reduce. We take off the chip seal portion and continue to do the crack seal and the mastic surface treatment to preserve that surface till something more major can be done at this point. So, and then still capture as much of the grant funds as we could do at that time. And then alternate number 4 would be the Wells access. This is a portion of a larger project, but it's the chip sealing of the access road to the Wells parking areas. It's under the engineer's estimate, so I'd recommend that portion going forward. If you want to pull off the sports arena parking lot, that would be, we just have to reduce that overall final amount by the $243,233.80. I don't have that in my head, but so I do recommend approval of all those other portions. with the caveat, we're trying to, like I said, trying to stay within budgets on what we needed to do for the parking lot at the sports arena based on funding. So I don't know, you guys have any questions?
Anybody want to do the math on what that
I can do it too.
needs to be?
So.
It's 1,539,900. Oh, sorry. $1,539 Oh.
We'll take care of it in
Yeah,
a minute.
sorry.
Yeah.
We'll take
Okay.
care of it in the minutes. It's the total amount minus the one for the sports arena.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it in the minutes.
Yeah, you'll get it figured out.
That wouldn't impact Circle C's
I don't know.
willingness
We will.
to-
We would have to discuss that with them a
Okay.
little bit.
Mhm.
Most of their impetus to get this going is they, when they bring in the aggregate, it comes
Yeah.
from a quarry. Well, it used to come from Oklahoma, but this year it's someplace in
Yeah.
Kansas, I believe. So it's more to get the materials here.
I know a lot of times their bid is contingent upon
The
larger
size of the
scope,
project.
so-
And that's something we'll have to discuss with them because we didn't bring that up in the
Yeah.
conversations. But
Okay.
if something needs to change, we'll have to bring that back before.
Okay, motion to accept the bid and approve the reduced scope in the base bid and alternate
Yeah.
number 3 for a bid total of $1,539,980.88 and authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Circle C Paving and Construction LLC, subject to compliance with all legal requirements. Got the tongue twister.
Don't you want to say that you've removed the sports arena parking lot? Because
Yeah,
otherwise
yeah,
you
with
said
the
you've
removal
put
of
in
the
the base bid.
Alternate number 2.
Correct. You had I think you had the amount right, just.
Yeah, it was a tongue twister earlier because
There's
there were so
enough
many 3 9s
moving
and
parts
8s.
in this one, it makes it a little more difficult than some.
I'll second that.
Tyros de Carvalho?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
Godspeed in your negotiations.
Yeah.
Did you want to take a break?
Oh, I can hang on.
Okay.
Item 7D, consider bids for Cdbg housing rehabilitation projects.
Good morning, Ryan Vietlook, Director of Planning and Development. I have some good news for you this morning. So we are continuing to work forward through our Cdbg housing rehabilitation grant with our partners at SCAD. We are coming before you this morning to present 5 bids for this grant. Just as a reminder, back in January of 2020, the city was awarded $256,500 in funding from the Kansas Department of Commerce for housing rehabilitation projects in a targeted area of Creekside from West 6th to 8th and from Maine to Adams. We were anticipating doing about 10 projects with this money. We have completed 3 earlier this year. This 5 will bring us up to 8, so we'll have between 2 and 3 more, depending on how the numbers kind of fall, that we will do after this. Originally, the grant was supposed to be wrapped up at the end of March. We've had some conversations with the Department of Commerce. They are understanding, like most other communities around the state, how slow this grant process is taken because of COVID. And so we anticipate that we are going to work very hard to try to wrap this up by the end of March. But if not, the state has been willing to entertain an extension on this grant. So hopefully we won't need it, but just rest assured that staff is in continual communications with the state on this. These are all 5 projects. They are landlord-owned properties, and so they require a minimum of a 25% match under the grant, the terms of the grant. The grant itself is capped at $25,000 per home is the maximum that the grant will cover. So these are projects, a set of them at 121 West 7th, apartments A and B, 121 and a half West 7th, that's all on the same property. And then for 114 West 7th and 126 West 7th. So within there, you'll see what the scope of the work is for these projects. It's a combination of roof repair, siding repair, oftentimes electrical repair. One of the good things that the fire chief will be happy to hear is that this does include installation of smoke detectors and things like that, which unfortunately a lot of these homes that have been subdivided over the years into apartments have had some issues with fires, and so we're very happy to see that there'll be some fire protection that will be included in these grants. So we did go out for bid. We got two different firms that came back for these bids: D&H Home Improvement, which is out here in Hutchinson, and New Windows for America, which is based out of Wichita. Both of those companies did the last round of Cdbg projects earlier this year, and so they're very familiar with the requirements of the program. So what staff is recommending this morning is approval of 3 bids for D&H Home Improvement for 121 West 7th, Apartments A and B, and 121 and a half West 7th in the amounts of $37,500, $30,900, and $28,000 respectively. And 2 bids from New Windows for America, New Windows of America for 126 West 7th and 114 West 7th for $36,200 and $24,000 respectively. With that, staff will pause for any questions you may have.
I don't have any questions. Other than thank you.
Yeah.
We're excited to continue moving forward with this. These will be a great group of, and I'm happy that it's several apartments on one property. So it's a huge win and one of the goals of the grant. So
Motion to approve the 3 bids from D&H Home Improvement for the 121 West 7th Avenue Apartments A and B and 121 and a half West 7th Avenue for $37,500 and $30,900 and $28,000 respectively. The 2 bids from New Windows of America for 126 West 7th Avenue and 114th West 7th Avenue for $36,200 and $24,000 respectively.
Second.
Iris J. Carvalho?
Yes.
Dave Light?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza.
yes.
Item 7E, consider approval of final plat for the Noble replat for property located at 1529 East 17th Avenue.
Good morning. Once again, Ryan Vietlook, Director of Planning and Development. Before you this morning is a final plat. This is for the Noble replat. This is known as kind of the former Target site. They're on yes, East 17th, that is correct. The property owner is Noble Hutchinson. They are a firm that is out of Fort Worth, Texas, and Garber Surveyor, it was the surveyor for this. So this is a replat. The purpose of this was to basically take the old Target site and actually break out 2 outlots for some future development. So everyone is aware that the former Target is now under the ownership of Bold, and they are, I believe, in the process of actually getting set up and starting work in there. I will zoom in a little bit closer. So the other 2 lots are 2 outlots there along East 17th there. You'll see that there are some easements that are run up from the former Target site to serve for future utilities for those sites. Of interest is Lot 2. This is currently under review, site plan review for a potential Dunkin' Donuts / Baskin Robbins, and that would be going in on Lot 2. Staff is in the process of reviewing that and should be wrapping that review up here shortly. The other, just so you will see, you'll see the reason why this has to be before you this morning and not a minor plat is because there are some easements and things like that that are once again to kind of tie utilities into those future outlots. One of the other items is an access agreement that we have worked with the property owner on that will need to be signed. That is just for any future reference. We do it commonly when you have outlots and things like that, so that if ownership changes or things like that, that there is shared access between the lots, so somebody can drive between the lots and there's no ownership issues or things like that. So that access agreement is in perpetuity, so even if ownership changes, you would not have a future property owner that would preclude somebody from being able to drive across that lot. We do that with shared commercial properties quite often. Staff is recommending approval of this with the typical signed conditions of signed Mylar and the check for the recording fee, as well as an additional signed access agreement. And staff does recommend to accept and approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission to approve SDF 21-10, the Noble replat located at 1529 East 17th, upon the finding that the plat is compliant with Hutchinson subdivision regulations.
Well, this is very good news as a start to split those lots and begin further development out there in the target site there. So I would move to approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission, Planning Department, to approve the final plat for the Noble replat and authorize the mayor to sign it.
Second.
Myros de Carvalho?
Yes.
Dave-Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Item 7F, consider 2022 FOP Lodge Number 7 Memorandum of Understanding.
Good morning, Council. Tom Sanders, Human Resources Director. I'm happy to present to you this morning the product of our negotiations with FOP Lodge 7, which covers our police officers and sergeants. Not unlike what we've done with IAFF, this year a lot of the effort involved providing better clarity in the MOU and reducing redundancies and outdated information, and again trying to have consistent language across all bargaining units. We also created a handful of new articles where it made sense to do so and reorganized the flow of the document to hopefully make it more user-friendly. Management's rights is one of those areas, again, like with the IFF, we put in the same language there. It helps better delineate those areas of the employment relationship that are the exclusive management rights of the organization. Lodge business defines the acceptable union business that can be performed on duty, and then also it eliminates paying two FOP members to go to their annual convention, which has been part of the contract for quite some time. Also, we codified our kind of past practices, if you will, around probationary periods, keeping the 12-month probationary period, and extensions for employee leaves of absences or times where extra time is needed because of marginal performance. And also a probationary period for promotion to a higher rank. On the promotional assessment procedures, made some pretty significant changes there. We're going to a more holistic approach there where we're going to do assessment centers versus just testing and oral boards. That'll hopefully help us with the whole selection process, making sure we're getting quality hire into those new sergeant positions. And then also we're modifying the basic eligibility requirements so that it now recognizes prior law enforcement experience with outside agencies. The grievance procedure, again, very similar, in fact identical to what we did with the IFF, that basically codifies that the local union has the sole authority to file or advance grievances. Also, we have a process now in place to clarify grievances that may be filed that are vague or nonspecific. And also changing the arbitrator panel to be limited to the immediate region of Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Nebraska. Again, this should help us control arbitration costs for both sides, and hopefully those arbitrators will be more familiar with Kansas public sector labor law. And we also have a definition of the burden of proof and standard of evidence for arbitration proceedings based on the nature of the grievance. And also the final decision maker is now with the city manager rather than the city council, again, to help reduce legal costs and unnecessary process redundancies, since, again, it can be filed in any kind of appeal can be filed in district court. We also kind of replicated the renegotiation clause that is currently in our MOU in case, we get into tough financial situations, and expanded the scope of those renegotiations to all wages and benefits rather than just the vague wage scale reference that's currently listed. Base pay and overtime pay. Again, this aligns paid leave types used for overtime calculations with all the other bargaining units and eliminates some old, in fact, I don't think it was ever used, comp time language. On the variable pay side of things, the new language helps clarify how pay will be handled for after-hour callbacks and court appearances. And then Appendix B, the wage schedule, it reflects a wage scale movement of 6% for police officers and 4% for sergeants. And then Appendix C reflects the 3% rate increase pool, merit increase pool for next year. So those are the highlights, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have regarding that.
I don't think there's any questions. You did a good job.
Okay, I will move to approve the memorandum of understanding with the FOP Lodge Number 7 bargaining unit for 2022 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second?
Iris DeCarvalho?
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Item 8, report of city officials.
Okay, Ms. Bagwell, go ahead.
I only have a few questions about the sports arena. I had somebody that asked me some questions, and I figured I would just ask them as well in here. So they were wondering, what is our utilization of the sports arena? And can it be utilized for Hutchinson Middle School for wrestling, or can we utilize it for concerts or any other facilities than what it's used for now? Is there open time or any way to integrate some of the Hutchinson school wrestling tournaments or any kind of concerts or different facilities in there? Or what is the limitation of the contract?
Scheduling is done by the college. They need to check with them.
Okay. So if this, and then that was her next question. So why does the college have the sole key if the city is that made the biggest contribution and taxes to the sports arena?
It's just the way the contract was written.
I don't know that we have the answer for that. That was done by the voters, and it was actually done years ago.
Yeah.
It is a public facility. Yes, we own it. I know that sometimes when I first started, there were some of the department heads that said, why don't you give the college the keys to that so we don't have to pay for it anymore? But after a $30 million renovation, well, yeah, it's an asset that we like to hang on to now, and we value that. But the college is the primary user, but it's available to all. You just have to schedule.
Okay.
Well, there's been considerable expansion of the use with the North gyms. And thanks to the Hutch Rec Commission that coordinate that, it's wonderful activity there. There's multiple times where there's a backlog of requests to use the sports arena, so there's high utilization rate, particularly of those north.
And air
gyms.
conditioning so that it can actually be used throughout
all
the
year.
summer.
Yeah.
All year, absolutely, yeah.
It is not an issue without contention, Sarah.
Okay.
Between
Well,
the
I
Hutch-
just want
between
the
Visit Hutch
information
and
and-
the college and the USDs and the city and the rec. It's quite a logistical stumbling block sometimes. I get it.
That's all I have. Rest for
Ms. J.
I did have one item, thank
Okay.
you. I continue to field complaints about the temporary light at Lucille from residents who live east of the highway on 30th, so people from Inverness, Timbers, Spyglass. I know that that was intended to be a temporary stopgap measure until the completion of the bridge on 43rd Street that would open up another avenue for getting to the school. So I was wondering what our long-term plans are for that. Are we going to keep it? Are we going to get rid of it? Are we going to upgrade it to a permanent structure? I'm hearing loud and clear that the residents want it gone. I have not had conversations with the school, so just wanted to open a conversation about that.
Jeff?
I'm so glad you're here, Jeff.
All right. At this point, well, we've had it in the budget to put it as a permanent signal at some point. There's quite a bit of cost for that. Going forward, what my hope is to do is do some traffic counts. I wanted to, once the bridge got open, I know that during school time is really when the benefit comes because of all the bus access in and out and holding traffic back. What it is now, I don't know that I have a good feel for that at this point, so.
I'm glad you mentioned the traffic study, because that was something I discussed with the last caller just yesterday, is maybe performing a new traffic count.
Yep.
There.
And it's probably more of a access issue, and there is quite a number of buses. When we initially put that up, the buses that go in and out really do hold up traffic in that area, but that was when they only had one entry and one place to really leave that area. So I'm not sure how the new bridge impacts that at this point.
Well, and maybe we could have a different signaling method, because I think what frustrates the residents is if one person's going, through, they're held up, a whole line of people are held up going east and west, even when school isn't. Well, I would like to get back to those residents. So what kind of time frame do you think I can provide them?
It'd probably be what I would need to do. I haven't set up any traffic things as of yet, so sometime after, probably in January, I would start some of those
traffic studies.
Traffic study portions. I would suspect that it doesn't really meet warrants for traffic signal there, honestly. But I'm saying that out of turn without having the information to back me up.
Okay.
So.
Well, I appreciate any attention you can give to that, if it can save us some money, because that's going to be a couple $100,000, don't you think?
It is. It's actually a very difficult location with the high power lines there, the high voltage power lines, and we're supposed to be so many feet away from everything, and there's quite a bit of utilities right at that intersection. So even to get it located there, I don't like where the poles are now, that close to the road. They haven't been hit yet, but I envisioned that when we initially put it up.
Jim, is that pole actuated or semi-actuated?
It's semi-actuated. It's really actuated by the traffic on the north and south.
We microwave detected there, right?
I don't remember, Steve. So
And then
I believe it is.
Is structure if you plan on doing that, are you going to put a steel structure? We're going to use the.
Well, if it does call for it, yes, we'd put it as a permanent one. Right now, it's just the temporary poles and those types of things. So.
And you haven't done the studies whether we meet the.
We have not, because it only opened like a month and a half ago. So I wanted to get. It doesn't do us much good to do anything before then. So.
Yeah.
I would probably think that if she doesn't going to meet the warrants, that it's not going to meet warrants. But
I don't know, but I would guess no.
Okay.
I still get confused because I have this traffic light that's near my house and I have to go through it all the time. And I'm like, how did this thing get way out here? Have you ever been to the traffic light that's off of, was it like Tyler and 23rd?
I think that originally got put up due to school.
Yeah, because it was near the school, but I was like, it's not even. I was like, how did this? Because
there's a
sometimes
number
I'm
of them
sitting
around
there
town
and
that are in the same
nothing
situation.
around. I have to wait for the light to turn. But it's like a block down from the school. It's not even right at the school. Like we have a busy intersection that's a stop sign, and then like this random light that's over there. So I just was wondering, how did that one get put in if it didn't meet the warrants?
That was probably a public.
Probably political
issue at the time.
It was a school thing.
I just feel like it has
it's
the
a school
same
thing. I've had some discussions with
as what
some
we're
people
talking about
that
right now.
Initially got that in. And,
I was there when it got put in. It was a school thing.
Yeah.
It was.
Thank you,
Well,
Jim.
thank you. Again, it would be different if this was like, there's no pedestrian activity there, so.
Anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Miss Nancy.
No, nothing.
Mr. Dave?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, I have two things here. First of all, I'd like to try to get everybody out to the on Sunday over there to the flag and Braille flag thing. It's been in the works for months, and it originated here in Hutchinson, Kansas. So we need to get a lot of people out there. Second thing, have everybody seen our Christmas lights in the downtown area? Our park department, and it is beautiful. They have done a great job on the lighting system out there. It's always been there, but it's this year is really nice and pretty, and the decorations on the side. So
yeah,
take a look at it when you run down the streets. It is nice. Next thing, I received a paper from Temple Baptist Church. This is our city workers they want to thank. It says here, Mr. Garza, I just want to take a moment to thank you and commend you on some of the crews that are employed by the city of Hutchinson. We requested that the alley to be worked on as much of the materials was ending up out on Cleveland Street, and there were noticeable holes and ruts in the alley. Someone came and met me, was a representative from the church within a few days, and they discussed the need repairs. And a short time later, our grader and gravel truck came and worked on the alleys as requested. They did an excellent work in the alley, and pleasure to use once again. The workers showed professionalism in the alley and did a great job. It's apparent that they came about our city by the way they approached this task. Please pass this along to our appropriate departments. We are grateful to be in Hudson and have such a wonderful people supporting our community. This is by Dr. John Wolf, pastor of this church. He called me weeks ago and told me that this needed to be done. I sent this work order to our Public Works Division. They did a great job. They responded and went out there, and I appreciate him communicating our great city employees that I know we already have. Great employees, and I appreciate him sending this letter, a recommendation. I'll make sure it gets to the appropriate people. Other than that, I think that's all I got today. Mr. Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we're at a point where we probably ought to have some additional discussions regarding Woody Seed. And I think it's probably enough of a discussion that a work session would be warranted. It's probably not a 15-minute discussion. But really what the situation is at present is we have some options going forward, especially if it's going to be locally funded. If it's going to be locally funded, and there's a few small grants that I'm told we could expect to receive, they're certainly not sizable, but they would augment the project. We do have the ability to come up with what most people in the industry would consider to be a sustainable long-term design that won't cost the city 50, 60 years down the road quite as much as the alternative design. Of course, the alternative design, this isn't an easy one, it's the same discussion we've had. The alternative, more expensive discussion, certainly long-term, but even short-term, is to rehab what we have standing in the air. So that's something that it's definitely going to help engineering going forward, and what we aim for and put out there as a goal. And at some point, I don't want anyone to think that we're putting barricades out today, but at some point, this structure becomes a significant liability to us when we don't do anything with it. And we hate to do a lot with it if we know we're going to tear it down and go to an alternate design. So you can see the quandary we're in. So that's something we would really like to have maybe an hour and a half long conversation about to see where this ought to go. And I don't know if it would be the preference of the governing body to hold this after we've got new council members sworn in. You probably won't miss the opportunity to continue talking about Woody Seed.
Nancy's
so I'm going to guess that we would set that up sometime in January for that discussion going forward, and see if we can somehow get on the same page with that, even though I think we're probably going to continue to have some opposing opinions as to what might be best in the city's long-term approach to this. It's not going to get easier. It's just going to get more expensive is all. Okay. If everyone's in agreement with that, I'll send some potential dates out and see if we can get that on the calendar. Okay, that's all I have.
Jeff, would it be your feeling that neighborhood members be invited to participate in that initial meeting, or at another time after?
It would certainly be a public event, having a work session, but as far as formal decision, and really, I think as an elected official, it's probably best for you all to be able to pick up some of the science and the facts behind the construction and some of the real issues that are tangible versus filling the room with basically a proxy vote.
Okay. I do want to make sure that we do a much better job. By we, I mean like us, on
Yeah.
keeping the neighborhood informed and gathering input. Because it's certainly going to affect them either way. Even if we just repair what's there right now, they're going to be majorly impacted during that rehab. So.
Yeah, and I think under some of that initial discussion, it's probably worthy of 10 minutes of that time to discuss what's going to be most challenged. Well, it's probably going to be a scenario where we go back out and attempt to seek other grants under the initial design that was put out.
I think we need to steer clear away from the design that we keep putting out there. And the reason why I say that is because I've spoken to the people in that area so many times now. And as far as facts go, if you bring the bridges out, you're cutting off B Street. I understand the need for that. The problem is if you cut off B Street and you do a roundabout, roundabouts are efficient when it comes to motor vehicle transportation, but they are not efficient when it comes to for pedestrians to go across them. So when you're cutting off B, which is a pedestrian route, and you're putting in roundabouts, which is a little bit more technical when you're doing pedestrian crossings on a roundabout, I think that's where the problem comes in. I really think we just need to be very mindful on if we are going to take the bridges out, that they still have a way for pedestrian routes. And I think if we really did do a series of study sessions and really talk to the people, and if we just figure out that one element, how can we take the bridges down and also have a safe and efficient pedestrians routing? And that may be we take the bridges out and we don't put in roundabouts, but we put in something more traditional, or we redo and have a pedestrian route on C Street. But I definitely think that really is the root of everything, is having that pedestrian accessibility to the other side, because it really is limited when you take out B and you put in the roundabouts. And so that's my only thing that I would really like to evaluate and get information on at that very first study session.
I think we agree. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Jeff?
That's it. Thank you all.
Okay.
How long do you think we'll need on the executive session?
What's that?
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Okay, I move to recess into executive session pursuant to the employer-employee negotiations exception KSA 75-4319B3 in order to discuss issues related to 2022 contract negotiation with the city's bargaining units. The open meeting to resume in the city council chambers at 11:25 a.m.
Second.
Iris De Carvalho?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
Mm.